I'm seeing people post their theater screen seats, the
Yeah.
seats available, that you can see on the app or on the websites for, AMC and and other theaters for the Madam Web movie. And it's like hardly
Yeah.
anyone
I
is
have it. Listen, it comes out on Wednesday, and I have Wednesday off, so I might catch a matinee. Try to go to like a really early screening. Let me see. Since we're talking about it, I'm
I may do that on
curious.
Saturday or Sunday.
Let's see, because there's one theater in town that typically has either early showings. Let's see. Let's look at Wednesday. 12 p.m. is the earliest one that day. That sucks. What about Saturday? Do they have an earlier show on Sat? Dude, no one's doing like before 12 o'clock.
So the movies that are currently airing at my movie theater are Argyle and Migration. That's it.
Oof, that's
Through
it.
Thursday. Yeah, yeah. That's how it is. They only show two. So when I say that, hey, I can't go see a movie, that's why.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Well, I
They
figured. I
only
mean, I
show
knew,
two
I
movies.
knew it wasn't great. I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yep.
Um, because yeah, I've got
So
all
and they don't
sorts of
post.
stuff.
They don't post the new movies until the following
The
day.
earliest I can go see it on Wednesday is 11:40.
So on Friday they'll send out the new schedule for what the times and what movies are playing
I
for through the weekend and the next week.
I really don't want to go to the theater to see this, but there's part of me that's like, maybe I need to. Oh
Yeah.
man. Well,
Maybe I can take some time from work on Wednesday and I can go since there's actually an AMC theater where my project's at
yeah.
and I could go during the day and go see that crap.
Oh man.
Probably not though. Let's be real.
Yeah. Uh, it's definitely it's honestly, and maybe people don't know this, but like when you're doing this and you're trying to find that time to fit in early on going to see a movie or whatever, like before we record on Monday, like sometimes it's tough to get in a time and try to fit in like the rest of your normal life. Um,
It can be difficult, especially
c-
when
uh,
you're working full time.
and especially when it's something you don't want to see, like that you
Yeah.
genuinely don't have actual interest in, and you're doing it because uh, for like a review or whatever. Like that's when it really does become work, and you're sitting in there and you're just like, this is miserable, you're trying to like take notes or do whatever. It's like, ugh.
Dude, so Madam Web is an hour and 54 minutes. So I guess it's going to be probably looking at an hour and 45 total.
Yeah,
You think?
yeah. I am so curious about this movie. I guess I'm just
I
gonna go.
already told you.
I guess
I
I'm gonna
already
go
told
see
you
it
I
on
know the
Wednesday.
the plot.
It's supposed to take place in the '90s.
Uh, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's great that Madam Web's actually a disabled person,
Oh yeah.
and
I do. Do you
it's not
do you
completely
think?
out.
Yeah. Do you think she's gonna end up getting hit by like a car or something? Because like, okay, so the my only uh memory of that character is from the Spider-Man animated show from the '90s.
Yeah,
It's
same.
the only reason I have any idea who Madam Web is, and she was always just the weird lady that occasionally would teleport Peter Parker into like her dimension to talk to him about stuff, and that's all I remember. And so this whole thing and like and allegedly like the way that the movie is set up, um, her age and how that's supposed to work doesn't even really make a lot of sense. But they were trying to go. It looks like from the movie is that they were trying to go the route of having like three like younger attractive women in the role, um, because Hollywood unfortunately still can't take risks on doing like interesting stuff with movies a lot of the time. Like
Yeah.
we we went through a period of time where Marvel was like, we're gonna take a risk on Guardians of the Galaxy. Because whether people realize it at this point or not, like that was a big risk for them at the time. That movie is about a talking tree and a talking raccoon who go on a space adventure with an orphan and a green lady and Drax. Like, that is outside the realm, right? But Marvel was so in its space at the time, and the movie was actually really well done. And this was before we had all of the like the Marvel, quote unquote, Marvel humor stuff, which again is just bad writing. And you get people who don't have like good comedic timing. That's what has to do with a lot of that. Like, it's not just because it's like snarky jokes, because there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of it really was just that worked really well for the type of movie that was, and for some reason after that, they just started doing it for everything, and it infects everything. It's like in the first Doctor Strange movie, which really should just be played pretty straight. And I miss that about just, like, we'll say comic book type movies. Really, movies in general, man. Like, I think it's one of the reasons why All Quiet on the Western Front kind of was so memorable for us. Because that movie is played so straight. There's not a... Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool.
I was just listening to you.
You're good. I was just like, I was getting no feedback from you, so I was like, hello? But you know what I mean by that, right? It's like,
yes.
I just, not everything needs to be serious, but not everything also needs to be a comedy. Yeah.
It's not even comedy. I would just say, a comedy, but to where there's no brevity to situations, to where they don't let the emotions of that scene flesh out prior to making a joke. And when it's a repetitive a scene after scene, to where you just can't stay in the hard moments and let them breathe and soak in and have that experience without cutting a joke through like ha ha ha. And it's almost like Guardians of the Galaxy has, from this perspective of it, great movies, right? Great series, but then also curse like being able to review the other Marvel movies after that, because now we're trying to talk about Madam Web. I'm like, who asked for this? And it's like, well, who asked for Guardians of the Galaxy? And I'm thinking, I don't think those two things are the same.
They're not. They're definitely not. It's, you had a competent director in James Gunn, who is also a pretty good writer. But he's a good
character writer too.
Yeah, he's got a specific style, and the style has to work, and that's kind of a big problem. I actually have no idea who's even really involved on Madam Web, and part of me doesn't care. Because
I feel like Guardians is the exception to the rule, not the rule.
Yeah, that's typically the case. And again, Gunn he's a specific type of. He's got a specific type of humor. He's always had like a really, really dark sense of humor, and that does not meld with Disney. And regardless of how you feel about his tweets, like, that's those tweets from, like, I guess at this point, like 12 years ago, that got him fired originally from Guardians. Yeah. I mean, if you go back and watch anything that he did prior to working for Disney, it's real edgy. Like, that's what he did. And there's a part of cinema that needs stuff like that needs stuff that's going to push boundaries. The thing about it is that doesn't work when you're trying to make like multi-$100 million to $1 billion movies.
Yeah.
You don't really get to do that kind of stuff. And so everything that he's done in that sort of Guardian sphere, it's all been watered down to some degree. Like, you can see a little bit of his background in those movies, but it's weird that they had him do some of the stuff that he did. It's why Suicide Squad made a lot more sense for him. Like, that's definitely more in his wheelhouse. His bread and butter. Yeah, he gets to do weird, dumb, quirky stuff, and write like these funny scenes where, you know, like a whole bunch of people get murdered in the first 10 minutes of the movie or whatever, and it's all in kind of like humorous ways. Like that's kind of who he's always been. And so all of the stuff that they've been doing where he's, you know, supposed to be taking over the new DC slate, like maybe, but I don't know if he's going to end up being the right guy for that. Like, I'll be honest, I hope it does well. I hope that the Superman movie is good. I hope that it's well written. And the casting looks all right. Is it Millie Alcock that's going to play
Yes.
Supergirl? Great. Seems like a good decision. And I hope so.
The superhero genre, so to say, and DC and their superhero films, it's
Yeah.
probably going to be James Gunn.
I mean, maybe so, man. I don't know. The thing is it's like I don't think it's one person. I think that if they're not, and again, the biggest, and we've talked about this in the past, the biggest thing that worries me about that is that they aren't doing a traditional route with it, because James Gunn likes quirky stuff. He likes to find the weird, like Authority. You know what I mean? Like he likes to find that weird stuff and make these kind of like off the wall type movies, and that's not good when you're trying to kind of go the route of, well, we need to reboot this, but what you really need is your Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, and then throw in a couple extra characters like that aren't getting like primary movies, but they're maybe for a Justice League movie that comes down the line, you're going to need them. That's kind of what you need. And it's just such a mess right now that like I said, I want it to be good. I hope that it's good. I would honestly just love if they were making good movies and not trying to do this massive shared world anymore. I just give me a good Batman movie that doesn't have a fourth act. You know, I would love to have a Superman movie that isn't just cynical. You know.
Yeah. Exactly. It's just make a singular good movie, right? And then from there, if it does well and it's a good movie, build off of it from there.
Right.
You don't have to map out this 10-year plan. Just start small, do a Superman movie. Then, if that does well,
small,
do a Batman movie. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Just, I think like.
I just mean in the scope of, no
shared
5
universes.
projects at one time.
Yeah. No shared universes. Give us Superman. Give us Batman. You know, I don't know if you remember, but the first Iron Man movie, like the whole thing with Samuel L. Jackson at the beginning of that, I don't think they actually had a real plan for that at the beginning. It was just supposed to be like a little homage type thing. And then as Marvel began to blow up, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and see if I can find any information about it. But they, you know, I don't know when they decided, like, oh, we actually are going to do an Avengers movie. You know, it was now. I think Captain America was the one where they did the teaser at the end for Avengers, if I remember correctly. That was a really long time ago at this point. But yeah, man, they need the right people for these projects, and they need, in their own movies, they need to give them some creative freedom. To make stuff, I'll say this, like aesthetically fit the projects. And then if you're going to do something with like a team up, then that probably needs its own look and feel as well. Versus making everything kind of look and feel the same, and all of the humor and dialogue all feels really the same, you know? That Marvel machine, as time went on, really, it's just like, oh, okay, we got more of this. And I think for a while that was fine to some degree, because at least the quality was decent. But after a while,
it became formulaic. It's like, I have a blue Ford F-150. You have a red Ford F-150.
There's maybe a few little differences.
Yeah.
Your technology packages are going to be a little different.
Where nothing's really that unique to each individual movie. As the course of time went on.
Yeah, but they really stopped feeling unique after a while. And then of course, like nowadays, it just they've really started headed in the other direction. And it, I keep hearing like, oh, they're trying to change course, and I just don't see it.
Yeah.
But I digress on that. Welcome everyone to episode 162 of The Underground. We are going to be talking about Halo episode 1 and 2 today. I got a little surprised when I actually sat down to start watching episode 1 because I didn't know that there were 2 episodes out. And
did you like my text message back when you said that?
Yeah. So I don't know. Are you ready to just kind of get into it?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Let's get into episode 1. You have the
I
video
do.
for me?
I do. Here we go. Opening scene, Joseph. Do I need to? Oh, I need to share the thing with you. But do you remember how the first episode opens? You can see it on the live stream currently while I send you the link for
with old Master Chief. What's
Master Cheeks?
Yeah, Master Cheeks. I mean, first off, I gotta say, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. I'm not gonna. What's the saying? I forget the specific phrasing, but right now, but my rating for episode 1 and 2 is a 0 out of 10. There's no Master Cheeks. We didn't get a Master Chief baby. I mean, those are things that are fond memories from season 1.
I was hoping that at the very least, because to be honest, I don't remember her name, but and we'll get into that part pretty quickly. But the woman that he saves at the beginning, I was like, oh great, well if at least if he sleeps with someone this year, she's on the same team, and not the literal enemy. Which, by the way, that plot point is just completely forgotten in the show, and it's and we can probably talk about it a little more later on because I'm sure I'll bring it back up. But it's a very weird thing to me that this show just like completely forgot about that. And so because people will be like, oh well, why are you nitpicking, blah blah blah. But the thing is like the episode or like season 2 isn't made in a bubble. Season 1 is what builds up to season 2. So you have to still take into consideration the things that happen in the first season. And no one who is on the opposite side of Master Chief and anything that's going on in this show so far has brought up the fact that he slept with the enemy. Yeah. It's such an easy thing to be like, no one's listening to you anymore and you're grounded because you did that thing. They're all just like, oh, you're probably crazy. And it's like, this is so annoying. Like, it's so annoying. Oh, also, just to say it, because we'll get to it, but like, I also am tired of this show and their like obsession with like the slimy evil British guy.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, really, we're doing this again. Yeah. And because he's not subtle at all. And we'll get to it, but that.
Yes, I guess for me nuts. It's and trying to think, is season 2 better than season 1? I would have to say.
Whoopsies. Sorry.
I mean,
where are you at right now? Because there's a piece of me that wants, there's a piece of me that wants to be like, those first 2 episodes are a little better. Like
it's like this is what I mean. This is the reason. This is the main reason why. Because I actually think that the showrunner attempted to make this more, to implement more things from the Halo video games, and I guess the books too. I'm not familiar with the books or graphic novels or whatever they are, but at least there was more elements of that.
Yeah.
And I actually thought it was funny. Like, I thought it was funny how Barry McCreary. Let me make sure that's his correct name. But the guy that did the musical score for The Rings of Power.
Yeah.
He did the score for season 2 of Halo, and I thought it was funny because I thought that actually the score was great and reminiscent of the main screen in the Halo video game when you got to that point. And but I also thought it was funny that, hey, McCreary, your music is great again in another show. The good news is like your music's great. The bad news is it's another bad TV show that it's
Yeah.
great in.
Well, and that's the biggest thing, man, is like I'm just never going to remember a score from a terrible television show or movie.
Yeah,
It becomes unimportant at that
I,
point.
I think it's Barry McCurry. I'm looking it up, but
Because ultimately, like, the music is supposed to elevate the visuals, you know?
yeah, it's Bear McCurry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like, why would I want to listen to something that reminds me of the Rings of Power? I sent you the watch together link, by the way, on
Okay,
Discord.
Perfect. But yeah, so I think this is mainly for. I do think there was a better effort of trying to implement more ideas from the source material or from the video games, and then
Well,
and I think I like the more. Man, I don't. Because I don't. I think the first scene is good, but I think the second scene with the Covenant isn't that good. So, but I do like the horror element and more kind of darker aspect they went, because you could tell with season 2 the budget was not as big as it was for season 1. Everything's more confined. There's less open spaces, and this is supposed to be, they're trying to do a soft reboot, but they still keep plot points and characters around that they had legitimate reason. They could have easily just wrote them off. And I just think that this show still fundamentally doesn't understand their audience and their target demographic. Quite truly, I think it would have been a better idea to get Greta Gerwig to do this, because I think at least you can say with Greta, with every single freaking movie she does, at least she makes them for her target audience, women.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
I don't know who the target audience for this is, because if we're talking about
it's a soap opera.
Yeah, and it's like a bad military drama.
It's a bad military soap opera without really any of the military aspects. I mean, they could have easily have just looked at Band of Brothers and done that. They could have implemented ideas from Starship Troopers.
Dude, we talked about this during the first season. All they needed to do was do the novels. Just recreate the novels and stick as closely, because people loved those. And if I remember correctly, we looked at the numbers during season 1, and those books sold pretty well. Now, also, this show is probably 5 to 8 years too late. They really needed to have a Halo movie or television show that came out, I would say, during an era of television that was, people were trying a little bit more, even if it was bad, you know? I mean, that was...
they took risks. They took shots.
Yeah, and that was...
And I can respect that.
That was the era of all of the, like, really trashy superhero shows on CW.
Oh, yeah.
When that stuff was... And it's a weird thing to say, but when it was kind of in its quote-unquote prime, because they were just pumping that stuff out. There was a lot going on, and not the CW stuff necessarily, but everything else. You had Game of Thrones, you had Walking Dead was still relatively popular, so it would have been the time to really get something genre specific like this out. Like Marvel was still in its prime, and now it's just fallen into the trap of a lot of these other shows. Though I'll say this, I'm typically, so far, I've been typically less frustrated watching this than I have been with Echo, Silent Night, maybe even Argyle to some degree.
That's a bridge too far for me.
You think Argyle's better than this?
I think Argyle may be better than this. I mean, Paramount should just change their name to Predictable, because that's what all their content is.
I don't know. I roll my eyes at this a lot, but like, Argyle was one of those things that like never shut up. You know what I mean? Like it jumped multiple horses, and at least with this, like, you can kind of follow it. Like, it's not.
I mean, you can follow it, but
it's not good. But
most of the plot points don't have much weight to the main plot, and so and so it's like if you cut down with episode 1 and episode 2, there's a lot you could cut out.
Okay,
and have a really tight singular episode that accomplishes the same thing. And in my mind, it's always better to have a a 15 to 30-minute episode that works out great, right? That
I'm with you
you're
on.
moving along
Yeah,
versus
I'm with you on that.
versus a 45 to 50-minute episode that just lingers because you're trying to hit a
Yeah,
certain mark.
that
Like
first.
make that script tighter. Outside of the first 15
Oh,
minutes of the first episode, there really wasn't much else to write home about.
it's
And you're
weird.
talking about 2 hours.
Well, here's the thing: is like the biggest problem with all of that is that there is a lot of wasted time. I mean, I didn't even recognize Quan until someone
I
was
to
like,
call her Quad.
Quad. Well, it was weird, man. Like, she just looks so different from season one.
Man,
For a
when
minute,
they said they glass Madrigal, I was like, Quan's gone.
I know, but I guess she wasn't there, and I don't have a ton. I kind of wish I had scanned through the first season a little bit, because there's stuff that I do remember from it, but there's a lot of things at this point that I'm like where was Quan at the end of that season? Like,
Yeah.
what? Okay, but yeah, man. So I think the opening is fine, and I really this is the problem, and this is probably what you were saying, like what you were saying with the budget, is that, and I feel like they use their entire budget in that first 15 minutes, and that's why everyone's walking around, and we just get this sort of like bad military drama for the next 2 episodes for the most part. And we'll get into the second episode because that's where some of the stuff the beginning of the second episode when Quan is like running around is the point where I went like, well, I guess this Halo TV show is back on form because there's a lot of stuff in it that you're like, this is ridiculous that this is happening. Like,
Yeah.
and
Well, I do want to say this.
Yeah.
I think them taking the military drama aspect or route, right? Taking that route,
Yeah.
military drama. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just they don't execute it well.
No,
and not having a good vision and outline of how to accomplish that.
Yeah.
And even in this opening scene, it's when you're thinking about things. This whole setting, right? You have the Spartans there, and I think it's great. They're trying to get rid of that whole, what was it in their back of the skull, the freaking
their little like pill thing that was in there.
Pill thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember what they say it in here somewhere.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of that whole thing, and now Vanek is like, yeah, I watch Animal Planet now. That's what I do, and so there's certain. It's still
They're
to me
they're trying.
filled with cringe dialogue.
Yeah.
But even when Master Chief says, "I'm gonna go scout the communications tower because we're not getting anything over there," I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about this. Kai's like, I can't see him, and I'm thinking, okay, you're in $1 trillion suit, right? You mean to tell me ain't nobody got thermal on there that could easily see him through that fog?
Yeah, it's weird that they don't have the tech for that. I'm with you on that. I thought
nobody thought about that in this scene. It's again, things like that to me can ruin a scene. And then he gets there to the
that sniper definitely should have had some sort of thermal thing on it for sure. But even their helmets, like, this is supposed to be a highly advanced like military culture. Which
the Spartans are the elite units.
I'll give this scene props to with the this woman or whatever, where you have someone again. It's the little like trying to pull the details out to be like, hey, good job on your little focus in this point of being like, here's an older woman who has been taken off of multiple planets. That this group of people has done this to her at least one time before, and she's over it. She's like, I don't care if you're right, I don't care if you're wrong. It's like, you took me away from my home, and I'm not going to let you do it again. And that kind of like butting of heads, like that was something that the idea of like I never found this version. And forgive me because I'm already forgetting. I did this last time when we reviewed this. The like Master Chief and all of his folks. The UN? Is it UN?
UNSC.
UNSC.
Yeah.
Their whole culture, because that's really what it is very authoritarian. Like they will use military force to get people to do whatever they want. And so to have and there should be more of this, and it's probably what the show should have been more focused on from the beginning, is normal people constantly being moved off of planets or whatever because of the actions of the UNSC. And the whole thing with the Covenant and the reason like the Covenant are out here doing this, there needs to be some blame from the UNSC, because you need that dramatic implication of like Master Chief is the hero of our story, but there are these things that are either outside of his control because of who he is. And he is a soldier. Like he follows orders. He's not really supposed to be the one who's, and you can build up to sort of like what they were doing where he's like, okay, I can't listen to these people anymore because they're going to end up killing way more people. You have the stuff with Fall of Reach, and you have the guy who we'll see later, who's taking evil lady from season 1. What's her name?
Halsey.
Halsey, thank you. You have her whole deal. And so there's like bits of it. And I think the biggest problem with the show is like all of it doesn't feel interconnected to me. It feels very like, here's the slice here, here's the slice here, here's the slice here. But I'm not getting like that interconnected woven story where everything's sort of leading up to Reach. They all sort of feel just like different stories to me right now. Yeah, very disconnected.
That's a great way to put it. I agree. Although I thought this opening scene was stupid because it was implicated, or I think either directly stated or implied, that the UNSC was moving them because the Covenant were glassing planets. And so it's like, yeah, lady, of course. Well, they're trying to save you.
That's not. So hang on, because that's not really the point. I don't disagree. What I'm saying is that there is this little bit of drama in there because from their perspective, they're just moving them. So like I imagine like, yeah, they're moving them because they're glassing the planets and they actually are trying to save them. And this is where the problem comes in, where it's like, okay, we need the drama to be something where the UNSC has made these mistakes in the past and relocated these people for different reasons, and people are just tired of it because that's sort of the implication. Yeah. Like it seems like, oh, okay, yeah,
where it's like up in the air to maybe the Covenant aren't really glassing the planet, and like even there's that uncertainty there.
Even if they're doing it this time, like there's a better way to make all of this work, but they're at least attempting, because they did it in. I want to say there was a little bit of it, like glimpses of it in the first season. But you're not supposed to look at the UNSC as like a righteous organization, right? Like they're not. Right. They're doing a lot of things that are not right. Like they steal kids. It's like all of their like military stuff ultimately is and the sort of like politicking that goes on behind the scenes. Like a lot of that is what's supposed to lead to the fall of Reach. Like there was a chance, like if this had been done by better people, to get close at the very least to like a Game of Thrones level plot. So, and you could have had the military drama, and you could have spent a lot of time with Master Chief and his crew, and so you have Master Chief and his crew. Say, like, let's look at it this way. So you have these different stories that are taking places in different parts of the Halo universe. You have a lot of the military stuff and the drama that's going on there and the politicking that's happening there. Very like Game of Thrones-y. You have what is going to make a lot of fans happy, where like Master Chief and his team are out, they're doing missions. And then like as time goes on, these things begin to cross paths more and more. Something goes wrong on Master Chief's end. Maybe somebody dies, or maybe something affects him. And we get Master Chief as kind of the hero there, but like he doesn't have to be directly involved in all of this. Like, basically what we get after the first 15 minutes of episode 1, where it's like everyone's just standing around, and it's like, holy smokes, man! Like this isn't even Halo anymore. It's like it's so like it was so boring listening to these people just like, it's like, oh, Master Chief's getting gaslit. One of the Spartans has like she's got like an injury or something like that, and she like refuses to deal with it. But it's like, again, advanced society. She's a Spartan. Do they not have ways to help her with these things? and she's like, oh, I don't want anyone else to know because you're not supposed to show weakness. It's like, but you're like, this is like hurt.
Well, now she can show weaknesses because she has the pellet out, and so she can show her
Yeah.
feces.
Oh, yeah, and they're totally fine. Oh, I mean, it's not too early to talk about that.
This military elite unit, these Spartans, will like with or without that pellet.
They don't care.
I more so imagine, in a sense, in a similar vein, Master Chief is similar to Geralt of Rivia, right? In the sense
Sure.
of
That's not a
emotionally.
That's not a bad connection because they're taken away as children. They're basically trained to be killers, and they work for the realm, if you will, or this UNSC is like kind of a similar thing. They control a lot.
So you can still have that aspect of Master Chief being the hero and being this military guy. You should have never done that whole pellet thing, but you could start to explore in little subtle ways of the emotional impact all of from his childhood on has had on him, and how maybe there's certain corruption and politicking he's witnessing to where he's seeing that, hey, you know what, maybe my country, right, my military leaders aren't who they say they are, and
Yeah.
they're not as virtuous as they've led on to be.
Yeah.
And maybe that allows him to start questioning things that happened in his past. And then like you have season 1 to where you're seeing a bit, like you're establishing who he is, and then maybe you start to see outside of this stoic kind of character, bits and pieces of his emotion coming through. And then season 2 picks up on that more, again, not to where you get to the point to where he's this emotional man, because he's still this Spartan elite, the elite of the elite, right?
Not what he is in these first 2 episodes where he's like,
dude, they start off and he cries.
Oh, bro, he's like crying over Cortana. It's just like, I'm just like, I don't. Like I think if we weren't reviewing this, I would have turned it off by the point he was like sitting. Because is that episode 1 where he's like It's the end of episode 1, right, where he's like sitting in that weird room with the robe, the like lady, and she turns into like a weird off-brand Cortana.
Oh yeah, that Blade Runner scene. He goes into the hooker. I think it's called the hooker place.
Is that what it's? I missed that.
I don't know. It's basically. I got the impression that it was a Cortana hooker.
Okay.
That's the best way I know how to say it.
It's so weird, dude. Like, what a weird.
So he goes and he stands to use her to get his emotional dopamine.
Yeah. Oh man, and that's the thing is like the episode.
So
I was going
David,
like,
if you ever feel like you're dumb and bad about yourself, just think about that scene and somebody wrote
bro.
it.
I don't worry. My self-esteem is totally fine as far as like.
But here's the thing: it's not that even that somebody wrote it. That's fine. I don't the writer. It's that all the other people it got through, and no one said, "Hey, this is kind of weird."
Yeah, this is not. I just don't understand why they're doing like Master Chief doesn't. We don't need to have like an emotionally vulnerable Master Chief.
No,
we just don't need it.
It's not to this extent.
Because here's the thing, man. This show isn't fun. That's a lot of, I think, what's missing too is that like you can have sort of this, because everything that's going on in Halo in general is pretty dark, but like this era of Halo, leading up to Reach, and even Halo 1, maybe some of the other ones too, but like it's a dark story. It's not supposed, like, people are getting completely wiped out. Like, groups of people are getting completely wiped out.
Dude.
They're genociding planets, and at the same time, it's like the levity in this is like, hey, like Master Chief taking on the Covenant. Like, that's the thing that's like, yeah, dude, get him, right? And then you have the drama as well of like, man, Master Chief isn't just up against the Covenant; he's also up against like his own people as well, and trying to save them. But I don't know.
It seems as if the writers were doing their best to not write about what's at stake with the Covenant just taking everything over. Like this really.
Yeah.
I mean, you got all these planets that are being glassed. I mean, Reach is about to be invaded, and I get what they're trying to do
I-
on one hand, I understand the perspective they're trying to come from,
Right.
in the sense of having the Covenant sneak on Reach and having these incompetent military leaders. But on the other end, it doesn't work because it's like, okay, you have talked about the Covenant glassing all these planets. You would think with all of these events happening that and with where humanity is at, everything would be heightened,
Yeah.
and the main forefront plot would be we are facing annihilation.
Right. And you would have one side of it where there's the warning of annihilation, and then you have the other side of it, which is this new guy that's come in who's like, he's just continuing to try to um,
Downplay it.
downplay it, and he's really only worried about his career, if you will. And you can make that work. This show doesn't do it very well, and
Yeah.
because it's not convincing. They haven't set it up well enough where it's like, the characters in this need to be more subtle. Like, subtlety is a problem with this show for sure, because the idea being that, like, instead of trying to gaslight Master Chief into just like, oh, you're crazy, it's like, oh no, Master Chief, like, I believe you. Like, let me send Cobalt to do you. It's like you have had like a lot of rough things. Like, obviously you would have had to get rid of the whole thing where he sleeps with McKee in the first season, because that's already a massive blow to the show for me. Is like, you can't.
His credibility.
The credibility of everyone around him, who, like, even the people who are trying to stop him, you literally just have to be like, you can't trust him because he slept with the enemy. That's that end of story, right? Like, that's the logical conclusion of what you would do if you need to ground Master Chief. And of course, Master Chief wouldn't have done that to begin with, so it's all pretty stupid.
Hey, there is some feedback coming through on your end.
Okay.
By the way, just to let you know.
That's fine. There's just not a lot I can do about that right now.
Okay, no, that's cool.
I don't know
But
what that is.
I agree. I think some way being able to fix what happened in season one. I don't even know if you even try to fix it if you just completely forget about it and just hard reboot. Probably would have been a better idea than doing a soft reboot. I think they could have. They had them talking about glassing Madrigal. You get rid of the whole Quan thing.
Yeah.
You get rid of the whole Mackie thing. Why we'll get to it, but why they brought her back in this, seemingly at least, because she was shot dead at the end of the last episode, or
Right.
episode
And I had
season one.
I had forgotten
And-
about that until I was like, oh yeah, that did happen. And you're like, but I think we had said too, like, well, she's probably not dead. And now we
Yeah,
know
but
we get the confirmation that that's the case.
That would have been the perfect way to not have to worry about her again, because again, it brings
Yeah.
back the whole thing. Why are the Covenant even
But-
listening to her?
but dude-
Why does she even matter?
How is Master Chief going to simp for her and Cortana in this season if she's dead?
Hey man, we won't get our Master Chief baby if she doesn't
He's
come back.
oh, dude, Master Chief baby. We're still hoping for it, guys.
Come on,
Yeah.
we need to sell them plushies, you know.
Yeah, you're right. It's 0 out of 10 season if we get no Master Chief baby. So, come
Oh,
on,
man,
Paramount, give us what we want.
Exactly, I'm helping them out. They got merchandise right there. I mean, think
Yeah.
about it. But
Just how he wears a little Master Chief helmet all the time, and he doesn't have to take his helmet off. Dude, the kid, can you believe it? That the kid from the pirate colony wore a helmet more in the first 2 episodes than Master Chief did. Like, how insulting.
it's so funny. People act as if you can't wear a helmet and have a successful TV show. And it's like, well, somebody could use the argument, because I can't think of every TV show right now, but let's just assume hypothetically that no TV show has ever been successful like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't have that happen right now. with
Yeah,
them.
you just have to.
So-
you have to.
Take risks.
Not only that, but it's you have to have someone who's willing to be like, all right, Master Chief can't take his helmet off. How do we make this work?
Yeah,
That's all you have to do.
Because I do think it's, to my understanding, it's important to his characters, and so
Integral, I think, is the word you were looking for.
yeah, no, it's integral to his character. But I was also trying to say that I think there's a way to where you could do it to where it makes more sense of him taking off his helmet in certain aspects, but I think bringing in people who know how to write and craft this show to, as you said, to where he doesn't take his helmet off is the better way.
Yeah.
At least for the first few seasons or something. Season 1, but the problem with even season 1 is that even when he took his helmet off, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, man, I mean, season 1 was littered with problems.
And in this scene right here, you know, he goes to investigate, and the comms team fires at him. He's like, "Hey, you know, friendly or whatnot. I'm here." And
Uh,
he said, "I didn't know that was." What does he say? He said, or the lady says, "Sorry, I didn't know you were there." This comms team, and then he says, "I no." She doesn't introduce herself as comm. He says, "Hold fire," and what does she say? I want to get it right.
Communications team.
No, she said something before that about her
separated.
firing. There was
I
something
don't
about
know.
her firing, and then he says something to the extent of, "I could tell you're the communications team,"
Right.
and I thought he was going to say, "I could tell because you're a woman."
I don't know.
Paramount
Okay,
wouldn't do that, but that would have been
no,
hilarious if he would have said that.
it definitely. Yeah, it would have been funny. In
That's just
this,
not true at all. That's one of those things. Anybody can shoot a gun. So that's a perfect
right?
time and be great at shooting a gun. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. So
I
that's a
don't.
great time to make a joke like that. That's stupid.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that again the Marines are treated like really stupid in this.
Yeah.
And
Well,
completely useless.
well, they are Marines, aren't they? No, I'm just kidding.
Ha 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 ha.
Hey.
Oh boy. Yo, y'all can email Joseph about that one. Um it's kind of a similar problem of like, okay, so I don't need them to be like elite soldiers. I have to admit though, it would be nice if every once in a while a group of them could at least take out one enemy. You
Yeah.
know, they're just
More
because this is
competent.
I'm pretty sure we had this problem in the first season where it was like they're just so incompetent, and
Well,
I don't want the there are certain things that I think the show needed to set up, and we're talking about like world building with this and creating sort of believable scenarios. So I would look at it. I keep thinking about Starship Troopers whenever we have the show because it makes sense to me that the military, like everybody is pretty much in the military for the most part, or like
mhm.
the military is basically open to whoever wants to join. They really don't care. You know, you're really a body to them. But I also think that like when you have the Spartan program and you have what the UNSC does to them, their normal Marines are gonna be good too.
Yeah,
Not
you
as
can't make
good.
them.
Yeah, they're not like science experiments, but at the same time, like they're going to be decently trained in what they do, and everyone just still seems really incompetent.
Yep. Even the
Um,
communications team,
yeah,
will be
yeah,
decently trained at shooting, not fumbling around. Oh, I've never used a gun before. You just point
and
this way and you pull this
I'll
trigger and it goes bang bang.
yeah,
Like that's essentially
and
what they're like.
this part where like they're all good. Like I don't really, and I guess when I say a lot of this stuff is like trying to pick out little things that are kind of working. Like the whole thing where the team's getting picked off and he goes back to back with one of them. Like there's something about this that I do kind of like, because it's like it's Master Chief like interacting with these other characters, you know,
It's
and it
this is
adds it adds little story elements to him on the battlefield, you know, um, and then
this is exactly what should be going on. To where I think the best way to have done this show would be, you essentially have your mission of the week.
I could see that. I also think that the it would have been way better, and I don't know if we mentioned this in a previous season or in the previous season, but like him having a Marine that is sort of um the like us as the viewers, like that's kind of the character who is like we're getting a lot of the emotional impact of things that are going on through their eyes.
Yeah.
That would have worked better than Quan. Like Quan has been, well, she's in. I don't know what's going on with her. Like we can get to that in a little bit, but I was kind of like, oh, like maybe that's what they're going to be doing. Like maybe he's gonna save her, and she'll have, sort of she'll be impacted by Chief. You know,
Yeah.
because I'm desperate, dude, for like some character development, for some interesting interactions with characters, and like of course we don't really get that. And after he saves her, she basically is just a pawn that gets set up by the UNSC for their own purposes.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's kind of funny because she didn't have a weapon on her, so she had to pick up a weapon. And then it's
yeah, I
even
don't.
funnier how Covenant ran right past her
Oh, dude,
and
she's so lucky.
could have easily just slashed her. It reminded me of that
Yeah.
scene from The Witcher where Geralt could have just easily killed that dude as he was running by,
Yep.
just sliced off his head. That could have easily happened to her,
This,
but nope.
I,
The plot demands for her to stay
they
because
need
of
her
the
later,
next
yeah,
episode.
and they can't work out. And this is something that happens a lot with writing, and this is where you run into these scenarios that don't work right. Is that they just refuse to have. They're like, well, she has to survive, so like she survives. That and then, oh, they all of these elites who have been picking all these people off one by one just happen to not take her out. You know, she's like it's just real convenient. It's plot. It's really bad plot armor. Like plot
It
armor
is.
doesn't always have to be bad. Like of course, like Master Chief, your main characters, they're gonna have plot armor. The biggest thing is that you have to make it believable that they're gonna survive these scenarios. And the more often that you don't make that a priority, where like Master Chief, obviously he's very well trained, he's superhuman in a lot of ways. I think some of this fight is crazy to me that he doesn't have to actually see them from the front and he's just like ducking under their swords. I'm like, I don't know.
He says he can smell them. I'm like,
I'm
bro,
like,
isn't that suit
okay.
like environmentally sealed to where because they can go into space?
Well,
You probably can't even smell your own farts in it.
and he doesn't have Cortana anymore, and she was a part of why he was so good at that. So there's some problems with this, but at the same time, there's part of me that's like, well, I'm just kind of glad that we're at least getting him shooting
Yeah.
some baddies, you know?
And some covenants
It
in there. And I
He's not
actually enjoyed it.
crying, he's not dealing with stupid politics or being naked. Like it's just all right.
You should have just done it wearing his helmet.
Yeah. Oh, dude, just his
Nothing
helmet.
else.
The tears on the outside of the lens, would have been great.
Your Master Chief, he
I
was running.
it
I
would
only
have.
had time to put on my helmet.
Dude, he just like walked. It was so. I mean, obviously, it's way too jokey for the show, but like he's wearing normal like clothes, and he's still just got his helmet on everywhere he goes. Um.
But I
Anyway,
do like the end of this to where he's protecting her because she had to survive, even though
yeah.
there was a million instances she would have died.
There's ways
And
that they could have done. They literally could have set it up so where like she gets injured, and he basically has to stay in proximity of her, defending her from the elites until like
yep,
that whole scenario happens. But again, it's real stupid. It's still stupid to some degree because you know, now I'm wondering if this is Arbiter.
I'm thinking it is, and I think the reason why he was allowed to live is because at the end of the second episode, he says when he kills Osmer, when I think it was the Arbiter again.
It's
I'll
something
read
about him
the-
not being honorable, like an honorable
yeah,
killing.
an honorable killing, and
Yeah.
considering like Chief had already killed so many of the Covenant forces, and now
It's
he's guarding over the wounded soldier. I can see that aspect. I don't know. I
think
don't know
some
if
of
the
it's
writers thought of that.
no. I also think it's really dumb because this guy just took out like 30 of your dudes, so killing him is definitely honorable at this point. You know what I mean? It's
that's a
so
good point.
dumb.
I
It's
stand corrected.
dumb. Yeah, it's just kind of dumb. And then like
It's
the
a cool
biggest,
scene though. It looks pretty.
there are some decent like lighting decisions that they made, but they hide.
That's my Marvel
Yeah,
argument.
well, the fog and all of this is to hide how cheap the CG is.
Yeah, it is. It is. And hey, listen again. I'm fine with that. Like I don't mind that. I don't
Yeah.
mind. This is obviously season 2's made on a lower budget. I don't mind it being more confined. Just write it well.
Yeah,
That's
I
what it
can
needs to be. Is write it well.
I can
deal
live
with the
with
more
that.
gritty, like horror kind of more
It's not working for me.
ambiguous kind of tone to the fighting,
Yeah.
but just write it better.
Um,
I mean, this reminds me of the Game of Thrones season 8, episode 3, to where, yeah, hey, that fight sequence in episode 3, it looked pretty, but it was dumb strategy.
yeah. Yeah, there's a
It made absolutely no sense. And so
We've-
this this kind of doesn't make any sense either.
Right. And unfortunately, and we've talked about it a little bit, but I think a lot of what's this is paused. That's why we're not getting anything new. A lot of what's happening with like lack of strategy in these shows or whatever is we've entered the age of content where shoveling out television shows and movies is more important than making them good.
Good.
So that's just what they do. And there's enough people out there that are just going to be like, please just give me, shovel this content into my head, more so than, whoops, let me mute this.
Then like me and you.
Yeah, then being like, well, we're going to actually, because like Halo honestly, Halo deserves,
Peter Jackson.
Yeah, it deserves a similar treatment, I think. I think that there's a lot of really interesting stuff in it, and this is not what we should have gotten. I think in a lot of ways, man, it just comes back to being like it's just really disrespectful. It's a cash grab, or it was like their attempt to have like some sort of major IP in their wheelhouse. Paramount's going downhill for sure.
Yep.
And
bad management.
I hope that sometime in the future that we actually get an interesting Halo series or series of movies. You could easily do a prequel trilogy and then move into Halo 1, 2, and 3, and then maybe stop after that because it starts kind of not being so great story-wise from what I remember.
Well, after back in the day, Peter Jackson was supposed to direct some movies or a movie for Halo, but because of his cut and his studio's cut that they wanted, the other studio ended up saying, no, we're not moving forward. But I think that would have been a great job. Now, when I saw that shower scene, I was like, come on. Come on now.
I know, me too. They know maybe
don't let me down.
Maybe they're just teasing us. So they have to wait till later episodes.
No, even better. This is how you do it, David. He's in the shower, and it scans down, and his helmet is just covering it.
It's like right in the way. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
I'm still saying like he should have had his helmet on in this scene. He should, and just his helmet. It would have been so funny, dude. But at this point, I just like memeing the show would have been better than what we've got.
Yeah, if Pablo would have came out and like the showrunners been like, all right, guys, you want him wearing his freaking helmet? We're gonna make him wear his helmet.
Like every episode. It would have been great if they could at least have done a cut of episode 1 where in all of these scenes, they did the exact same scene over again, but he's got his helmet on in every.
Yeah.
In every scene. It would be funny.
I understand it's integral to his character, him wearing his helmet. I'm more willing to forgive it if a show is written well, although I still don't agree with it, right? I think there's a way to
less of it. If you're gonna do it, don't make it 45 minutes of your hour-long first episode.
Yeah.
And because and to be honest, like that is more on the side of like, you could call it fan service or like being respectful to the fans. But there are a lot of other things, at least from a story perspective in this, that are just even worse.
I think it's important to pay fan service, right? And be respectful to the fans. That's like with our Five Nights at Freddy review, I said, hey, it's totally great to make a movie for the fans. That's exactly what should happen with every movie and TV show, etc. You want to still make it a good movie, and make it and write it well. And so, and if you do that and you do it for the fans, it's going to attract that general larger audience as well if it's written well and done well.
And
that's the thing with
Five Nights obviously did well. Like that, it's got a built-in fan base. It was going to do well even if it was a massive pile of doo-doo. It still would have made a ton of money if you just had the right imagery in there and all of the little like fan servicey things. Listen, Five Nights isn't exactly like highbrow.
No,
you know what I mean.
But
it could be elevated by a good story, though. I think is really what we're trying to get at.
Yeah, and here in Halo, again, it's 45 minutes with him with his helmet off, and
Yeah.
it just comes across as distasteful and not caring.
And and
Even though I would say they're more caring in this season so far than season one of the source material, the fans, at least this showrunner is in certain ways.
at least it seems like there is more effort being put into what they're doing. Now, it's still not helping a lot.
No.
But yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. But yeah, man. So we have our new head,
Halsey character.
our new
so to
Halsey
say.
character. Yeah, do you remember what his name is?
I don't know. Jack. Let's just call him Jack.
Jack. We'll just call him Jack. Anyway, he's new slimy evil British guy
Yeah.
who will get his comeuppance by the end of the season, more than likely. That's what he's here to
Whatever
do.
happened to the British guy in
He-
the last
he
season?
died.
Do you remember?
He dies.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he gets
Okay.
killed. I think Quan kills him.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
It was either that or maybe an elite kills him. I don't remember. But yeah, he dies, and I was a little disappointed because I like that actor, and I was kind of hoping maybe he would make it into the next season. But obviously that didn't happen. So we get our little slave trade, because that's literally what this is. Even though none of them are cuffed, this is a weird scene, dude. These evil, these we'll just say morally gray to evil piratey folks on this colony.
It's
they're-
James Ackerson. That's the guy's name.
Okay, from season 1.
That's the no. That character, the new boss.
His name's James Ackerson. Okay,
James. Yep.
gotcha.
Yep. And to my understanding, he's from the graphic novels, and a lot of people. He actually read the graphic novels prior, and he, to my understanding, enjoys the games as well. So that's actually nice. At least one actor did that, and I found it funny though how Kai kept asking in this scene,
Yeah.
"Who is that? Who are you?" Like
Yeah.
2 or 3 times. I'm like, bro, we already. It being asked the first time makes sense. After that, it's just like, be quiet, man. Just sometimes the writing just frustrates me.
It's weird because, again, they are. I don't care if they got their little implants taken out or whatever. They're still in the military. There's still a certain amount of respect that's given to authority figures, even if you disagree with them. And yeah, they've gone the direction. And I think this was a problem in the first one, where all of the characters, they took those chips out, and it's now they're overly emotional. And you're like, I don't like this. And we talked about Equilibrium, I think,
Yes.
when about the difference between these two movies, that movie and the television show, where there's a lot of people they are very similar. The problem is that in Equilibrium, it's done properly, where it's well, there's a danger to letting people know that I have these emotions now, and it's a major element of drama in that. Where in this, now they're just talking about it oh, it's no big deal that they did that. Nobody's upset about it.
Yeah,
even Ackerman is he obviously doesn't care because he doesn't bring it up, and if he brings it up later on, it's just poor writing, because it's dude, why are we not covering this stuff?
Yeah.
And I kind of hate all these little plot elements that they put into it, because it makes the show more of a mess.
It does. And I did not like that dystopian setting of that new planet we go to, the rubble or whatnot. And I know this is a Halo TV show and it's futuristic, but this just seemed, I don't know, out of place to me.
Yeah.
And I just thought her beating up that other criminal, I thought it was dumb because he's twice her size.
Oh, that was so stupid, dude. And
it's just it's just very clear. Just, hey, we have to have the woman winning this type of writing to me.
Yeah, this guy who allegedly is a pretty bad dude, and she just manhandles him like it's no big deal, and I'm just
and humiliates him and stuff like that.
And again,
it's,
it's something that's it's worse because none of them are cuffed. None of them have.
Yes.
There's nothing that's keeping him from just absolutely destroying her.
Whereas if he was chained up,
because he does it to he does it to her right here, where he gets an advantage on her, and it should have pretty much been over, but for some reason he doesn't, and then she beats him, and it's just stupid, dude. It's lazy.
Yeah.
I don't like this whole pirate colony plot point now
I don't
anyway.
either.
It takes away, as far as I'm concerned, like it just kind of takes away from the story. Um,
So their plan to get Soren, right, was to have this guy go to an indentured servitude auction
it's
and then
yeah.
hopefully get picked up by Soren, right? And then lead Soren
Yeah, to
to
get
a
to get arrested.
random
And
ship
we're,
and get arrested.
we're jumping ahead a little bit with that, but like who arrested him? Was it the UNSC?
Who gives a crap, dude? How long were those freaking soldiers there?
I know, just
waiting for
hiding.
Soren? Yeah,
So
just-
pathetic, dude. They the way they set that up just was not. It was dumb.
And then, like, why was the guy? I know I'm jumping,
No,
but
you're good.
why was after Soren? Like, you would have think as soon as Soren went in there, they would have arrested him and grabbed him right away. Why did he continue to sell this story when he was
I
at?
know. And that talk about I think I'm just really tired of like over chatty characters in
Yeah,
media. It's just not. I don't know what it is, but it's just not the whole like quirky thing where like when they're going through the spaceship and talking. And we don't have to talk about this scene too much, dude, because it's just dumb.
yeah.
The pirates, every time the pirate stuff was on screen now with like Soren, I'm just like, dude, I don't care.
No,
I'm like, they're not that interesting of characters at this point. Like, if all of them get wiped out, then it's like, oh well. We get a little bit more drama with this, but this is what I was talking about before, where like they're just gaslighting like these scenes are basically here to gaslight Master Chief into thinking that he's insane and to set up Ackerman as evil British, like slimy evil British guy.
right.
Like, come on, dude. It's like, listen, I get that it's like a character from, because people will use this as like excuses a lot, where it's like, oh well, he's in the book, and it's like, well, is he like this in the book? Because he kind of sucks here. Like, he's super
Yeah.
one-dimensional, and it's just like his entire character is like he's trying to climb, quote unquote, the corporate ladder, right? It's all about his career.
I do find the actors acting to be some of the best in the show.
Mm.
Like,
I just don't. He
I
doesn't
feel
have a lot
like
to.
he's actually.
Maybe
No, he doesn't.
He
But
just
none
doesn't
of
have
them
anything
have
to
that.
work with, you know. So it's like
Yeah.
it's hard for me to gauge because he's so one-dimensional.
Well, to be fair, none of them have anything to work with.
That and I just like there's nothing that he is doing that separates him from anyone else. Like I find him annoying because it's obvious what he's doing, you know? Like there's no, again, it was what I was saying before, it's like there's no subtlety to it.
Yeah,
Where it's just like it's
too on the nose.
It's very
It's very
obvious.
on the nose
Yeah.
writing.
He's just ignoring all of this for some sort of political gain. But then again, I'm also like okay, his motive in doing what he's doing, like what is it? And it's like, oh well,
Right.
it's he wants his career to move his career. It's like, okay, but why is what he's doing going to help his career more than dealing with the Covenant threat? Like that's what I'm talking. You can see where I'm coming
How is
from
it
with
going to
that.
happen? Yeah, how's
what
it going
is
to happen?
what is his end game with all of it? Like, there has to be something. Is it just money? Is it just power? Did someone offer him something if he lets a bunch of these planets get glassed? And are they trying to get rid of the Spartan program? Is that why he's doing? And you see what I'm saying is like
Yeah,
what is that motivation? Like, what's driving him to basically do what he's doing with Master Chief? And like, clearly there's something going on with Halsey, right? Because we see, I'm jumping ahead too, but
that's fine.
we see later on that there's something there. There's something there. There's something going on with Halsey later on, and it's like, okay, but again, like, why is he doing what he's doing if he has her? Was that the implication? Is that she's in cryo or whatever, and he's putting her through some sort of simulation?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still don't exactly know why he has her and what the importance of that is.
Yeah.
And what's the motivation behind that. However,
Because
the writing of it just sucks in general because they're trying to play off, they have these clones going in there talking with her and she's trying to extract all this information in a very
Right.
poorly written way. Like,
It's
oh,
so
there's a
funny.
big room with
Uh,
big space and big window,
yeah. And
and
then
I feel air
pomegranate.
on my skin.
Yeah, pomegranate tree catch on fire, and you're like, because that happened, and I went, huh? And then I went, oh, she's in some sort of simulation. But then I'm thinking, like, well, now she knows that, so like,
Well, it's funny because they build up,
mm,
they build James, like whoever is behind it, when you're assuming it's James, that is a mystery. Like these clones keep dying because they're not going to reveal who he is, and
yeah.
then he just walks on in. It's like, what's the point of that? What's the point of, like, this wasn't some big mystery. He just ended up walking in.
I think like because Looney Ear in the troll room was saying that he thinks he's a good Ackerson, and I'm just gonna defer that to y'all. Like I'll I'll just be like, okay, cool. Like my problem is with what they're doing writing wise with this character, because I need more from this. I need less one dimension with a character in his position, because there's clearly there's all these things that he's trying to accomplish, but some sort of motive or some sort of hint at his motive in these first couple of episodes was really needed.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, all right, like he's got a plan, and because I'm not a fan. And this show's doing this a lot. This whole like mystery box crap, where it like even that lady from the beginning of the episode where she looks at Master Chief and she's like, I've seen your death, like come to terms with like your faith or with God or whatever the case may be. That like, there's things in there where I go, oh, that's cool, but then it's like it's coming from a crazy lady who basically looked like she was about to jump into lava. So like, why would Master Chief take what she says seriously at all?
That's
And then
exactly what I thought, because I was like, oh, brother, not another freaking shaman
yeah,
from the freaking season 1.
and the thing is, man, is like those elements of like, oh, Chief meets someone who is making him question sort of like his morality, where he's at in life. This stuff is fine, but the thing is again, you have to set it up properly, and then they just ignore it until the end of episode 2, where he goes to see that lady and her family.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
like,
and even that, I'm like, why is he? Again, I don't care about that her specific plot point, that Marine, and how, oh, now she can't remember, and he goes to see her.
Well, she knows.
And how does he even sneak out of that base with just a hoodie on? This large dude.
It's dude, and he's like one of the most valuable assets for the military.
And
There's
you're
no way
thinking
we can
already
jump ahead-
that
we can
there's
jump
something
ahead a
wrong with
little
him.
bit.
So why is it? And you're thinking already there's something wrong with him. So why isn't he being monitored? And then he goes meets up with the annoying admiral from last season, and she's like, if you give this to me, I'll believe you.
Yeah.
But it's like, what does that mean? Who cares? Like, who are you gonna go to? You've been discharged from the military. You're a civilian now. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's weird. Like I can kind of understand
Who's gonna believe her?
Well, so they're trying to set it up, and they didn't do it very well, right? Because this scene feels really out of place as well. But the idea being, and if you were doing this proper, is that she would have gotten some sort of communication to Master Chief, and they would have met in a place. But the way that this is set up is that he's walking into this place to go meet someone, and he randomly bumps into her.
Yeah,
because he has no idea. His reaction is that he had no idea she was going to be here.
Right.
But then it's like, wait, it seems like you guys this was set up as if they were meeting.
And even still, but why is she still important? Who's she gonna go to?
Well,
that's gonna believe her if she was the scapegoat from everything that happened.
The idea would
last
be
season.
The idea would be, if you set it up properly, that there are that the UNSC is like its leadership is essentially split. And so what you would want to do is have her and Ackerman, I guess, on sort of like opposite sides of that. And yeah, like she gets removed. I didn't even realize that she got removed and took and I guess that's what they're supposed to be talking about here, but it's a weird way to set all of that up.
Yeah.
Because you're right. It's like at this point, it's like, okay, well, if she's just a civilian, like why does anybody care at this point? Clearly, there weren't enough people that had her back. But a better group of writers who were thinking about the details of the plot and how to make this stuff weave in and out could have made this work better. Because I see what they're doing. The problem is they're not doing it very well. That's just kind
Right.
of what it comes down to. And as I was like scanning through the rest of this episode, it really is just this back and forth of Master Chief being in these situations where him and Ackerman are arguing with each other. The drama on the pirate ship, of him not being able to let like Halsey go for whatever reason. You get this little
And
bit here where they find out that that woman is being used by the Marines. You get this interaction with Cobalt, which I was mostly fine with. Again, the dialogue is still not great. Like the way they're like they're messing with each other. It's like someone was like, "Oh, well, they're in the military. This is the way that they would probably talk to each other," but it just doesn't sound. It doesn't sound right. The dialogue just seems out of place. Like, oh, they're trash talking each other, but this doesn't seem like the way they would be trash talking each other.
yeah, right.
It sounds
I would
kind
have
of
laughed
lame.
if he would have just came in, been like, "Hey, crybabies," and just don't cry on me every time they said something. Don't cry. Now that they
Yeah.
got the pellets out.
But there's also little moments where like Master Chief and what seems like the leader of Cobalt, that it's like a glimmer of actual acting between these characters where they're not saying how much that they care about each other, but there is that obvious like, hey, we're trash talking each other, but we do actually care.
yeah.
That
I
is
think
actually a
there's-
through line that I'm like, okay, it's kind of there. There's kind of a little something there.
Yeah, and I do think that as well, you could have another through line in here, or at least setting to where Master Chief is more respected than he is throughout the show with seemingly everyone he interacts with. Because in this episode, they also throw in the whole Kai and James element to where he's trying to say, hey, if you ever get the feeling Master Chief isn't up to par
Oh, right.
and he's having mental issues, you can just come to me anytime. That kind of subversion plot. And she should just be automatically going back to Master Chief and being like, hey, he's trying to set you up. You need to be careful. Because she spent all his time with him. And so, I don't know. It's just a bit forced to me and contrived. It doesn't make sense how now, just because she has that pellet out and she's more emotional, because at the end of episode 2, they're definitely set that up because, Master Chief takes the ship and he's going to reach, and, he
Right.
says to her, she asked, did we get approved for this mission, or what's our mission? And it's to go to Reach.
Yeah, and it feels weird because I feels like they really started. I was not expecting the whole like fast track to Reach that quickly. So I am curious to see what they're gonna.
I know
do
I
with
jumped
that.
forward some, but
No, you're fine.
mean, really-
we've kind of talked about episode 2 intertwined with 1.
I
just
really
wanna- here's
the
that.
only scene. Okay, go
I
ahead.
just
Sorry.
wanted to point this out real quick. This is that scene where he's just like emotionally distressed about Cortana, and I just don't. I honestly, what it comes down to is I don't like the way they're handling it.
Yeah.
It's not that he can't like feel a certain way about losing Cortana, like what he felt like was a piece of him. It seems like one of the problems is that they weren't together long enough for him to feel the way that he does.
Or at least we as the audience don't get that sense of it.
Yeah, and so it's like, all right, man, like it sucks, but
So this is that whole stupid scene. They go through all this danger just to arrest Soren. You would think as soon as he went in there,
oh, did
they would
we?
have.
Is that? Oh, that's right. That is. Wait, is that end of episode 1?
Yep.
My timeline for this is a little weird.
Yeah. And I know we're past 8 now, so I know we can speed up.
Let's see.
But
Oh, this was what you were talking. Yeah, sorry.
yeah.
So yeah, Soren goes in here, and the guys just won't stop chatting at him. And it's just this like obvious, or it becomes a trap. Seems like Soren probably should have figured this out sooner, and then his crew leaves him for whatever reason. I don't really feel one way or another about that. I guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then
I just thought it was funny how they arrest him when it's like as soon as he walked through that door, they could have easily just jumped on him and grabbed him and avoided that.
It must be the UNSC because those guns look like the pistols from that.
All right, we ready to speed run through the second episode?
Yeah, I guess we just need to hit the points that we haven't yet.
Let's just. I'm good with just talking about the end scene and this. 'Cause I feel like
Okay.
we've talked about everything else. But if there's anything
'Cause
in here you want to skim through and talk about, we can. Oh yeah, this whole the VFX in this series still isn't good, especially the training course. I found like this whole
oh,
idea
it's
of Chief
bad.
being in the wrong with Riz not being able to be up the par.
It's
I thought
weird,
in,
and
in training was
yeah,
dumb because it's like, no, this is life and death type of situation with dealing with the Covenant. It's her fault she's injured, not Chief's. She needs to be able to perform, to be
yes,
able to help the others survive.
and again, this show is so weird to me because this is a advanced military society who can create super soldiers, but you're telling me that like you can't properly fix your super soldiers. Like you're willing to steal children and turn them into these things, but you're not able
But we
to
can't fix
fix
the
them.
shoulder injury.
Yeah, we can't fix whatever's going on with like her side or her shoulder area, whatever it is. Um, it makes no sense. Um, I really don't. I just don't get it, man. I don't understand
No.
like the logic behind some of and dude, what it is it ultimately comes back to like details.
And then Master Chief, yeah, agreed. And then Master Chief getting mad at that comms,
Yeah, it's weird.
who
It's like
that comms guy at the thing. Like he's
it's
just a dude putting up
he's
the
he's
board.
I know some people aren't going to understand this, but he's too emotional. He's too emotional. He gets pissed at like every little thing.
Well, you
And
think he would know that it's this guy's superiors making him change
yeah,
the board up there.
this is like it's just like getting mad at like the lowest level employee somewhere because of something that's beyond his control.
And it seems beneath Master Chief's character that he would get mad at this guy instead of the superiors. It doesn't make sense. And this Quan storyline, I'm just gonna say
So
it's dumb. We don't have to
it's
go
so
through it. It's
boring.
stupid.
I do want to mention this one part. Where is it?
Where she flings the guy over
She
the rail
flings
and
the guy over the rail, and it's like there's no way. Let's see here.
old quad.
Oh, was it? No, he runs. She runs right here. Let's see. Where is it?
Yeah,
Does
it cracked me
that-
up how he's like 2 times her size and she
it
doesn't have any special abilities, but he makes her go, or she makes him go flying over the rail.
I know it's coming. It's coming up right here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming.
I'm trying to do this without us getting tagged on. I probably have already done too much.
Oh, it's
Oh,
Paramount.
here
They're
it is. Here
definitely
it is.
gonna
Here it is.
tag
Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Yeah, that's why I'm trying not to play too much of it. Oh, she like rams that guy into the wall somehow. She's like 100 pounds soaking wet and
Hardcore.
manages this stuff. Oh, it's right here, and she flings the guy. Like, look at this editing too, right? Where goes up, gets grabbed from behind. Should have been over, but of course he throws her because everyone has to get thrown in these shows. And then they look at this. Somehow he misses, right? And the edit to him, and what it probably was is this dude probably got a running start where they cut right here, and then in this scene, he's doing all the work because it doesn't even look how, dude, she's barely touching him. Barely touching him in this. There's no way. And it just looks really bad. And it's like, this is the kind of stuff that even in a show that's got a lower budget, it's just unacceptable.
Yep.
And then the only other thing that was really noteworthy about this is the last guy that she kills. Because they go on this like really long chase, and this takes forever. I mean, I'm speeding through this. It's a huge chunk of this episode. He's like looking for her, and all of a sudden, it's these last two pieces actually that are really stupid. So he's looking for her, right, and then he disappears, and he sees this little bit of blood right here. You miss it if you're not looking, and it's on the rollers, and it's so stupid, dude. Because I was thinking like it'd be really funny if he came by and he was just cubed, you know. But of course they're not going to do that because the show won't go that far. But somehow she manages to beat him, and he's outside. Like, okay, cool.
Happens all.
Yeah, how did that happen? It's like, okay. And then of course and it's so dumb because somehow she manages to overpower this guy and stab him with the little ear thing, and it kills him.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how?
He's in full mount, stronger than her, bearing down on her with his full weight and strength,
Yeah.
and she gets out.
He has all of the advantage in this situation, where with his like hand placement and the knife. Like all he needs to do is like get out of this struggle with the knife, and he's got her. Yeah, it's just bad. It's bad, dude. And then somehow she like I don't know how she stabbed him with that thing. That thing didn't look like it would have easily gone into his skull like that, but whatever. All right. So yeah, we have the whole the whole Riz situation. That's the main takeaway from that is she's too prideful, and again, why on earth is there not like medical care for her?
And you can drown in a Spartan suit, apparently.
I guess so.
You can go into space, but you can't go in water.
Yeah.
And then Soren's wife or whatnot says something 3 days later or whatnot instead of right when they get back.
It's weird, man. Yeah, the whole way this is all set up.
Master Chief goes to old girl's house.
I will say this. I didn't totally mind the scene, but it's mostly because her brothers are kind of funny. Like I just kind of enjoyed that. Totally out of context for the show. Yeah. And it would be more interesting for a number of different reasons, and then she's like getting therapy or something. I don't know. But yeah, I liked the interaction with like the brothers. Like it feels kind of correct for the way people would ultimately be if like one of the Spartans showed up at their house, you know. But I'm not gonna linger on it too much because again, it's like
dialogue was still a bit cringe.
I guess
for me,
I get what they were going for, I guess.
Yeah.
And again, I'm attempting to find anything in this that isn't. And I don't know what their plan is with her. Ultimately, it's we're now at about a 2-hour mark for this show, and we really don't have much development for anybody in season 2. Like where are we at with everybody by the end of this episode? You know, Soren's still captured.
Yeah. Master Chief still in his fifis.
Yeah, he's still just like upset about everything. You know,
Riz is hurt, and then old Marine girl still questioning what she did, and then Kai is apparently on this questioning Master Cheeks now, and Halsey's still captured. James is bad guy. Vanek is funny guy.
They're headed to Reach.
Yeah, and they're heading to Reach.
And then Cortana Cortana looks worse this season.
Yeah. Now I did want to talk about this last scene
with on
Reach. Well, hang on. Cortana does look worse, and then also she says to him, "There's like a 97% chance you're gonna get annihilated."
Yeah.
And then she's like, Then he says, "Is there any situation in which we win?" And she says, "No, not based off of my simulations." And so this guy's like, "Okay, I guess we'll just roll over."
Yeah, I guess we're done. What's so weird about it though is like I'm still not. He basically knows they're screwed, and is his goal just to like let it happen and like not let people know because they don't want panic? Like I don't. This is what I'm talking about, man. Like, what's the motivation?
Yep.
What's the point of everything that he's doing? Like, I just need a little bit more of that. Like, I need to know what the show needs to show us what his plan is, because as of right now, it's like, again, everything feels so disconnected.
Well, and I completely agree. Everything does seem disconnected, and we get that next scene of. I think the next scene is Master Chief is going to Reach, and then they show Reach, and it's in that dark hallway.
Yeah. Which I'm gonna say this now because I know you're kind of like, oh, I don't mind these things. If they keep doing this, it's gonna be like, guys.
Well, they do this bad. They have the dark scene, and there's 8 or 12 of them there, and he sends the first team down the hallway for whatever reason. Bad strategy. This is supposed to be a military commander. I'm assuming he has some basic understanding of strategy. At least I'm not a military genius. I'm not even base. I'm not an officer in the military at all.
Right.
Nothing. But I at least have common sense to know, hey, if first off, none of these Marines have flashlights. Hey,
Which is weird.
dumb,
Yeah.
go get a flashlight for us. Apparently, we all forgot to bring it, so go get it real fast before we go down this corridor of darkness. Number two, you send the first team just down there to get massacred like an idiot.
They're so dumb, dude.
And then he just does the same exact strategy. All right, guys.
yeah,
you go
round 2.
instead of just like loading clips down there.
I don't know, man.
Obviously, that that first squad we sent got annihilated. Let's start blasting the place up.
Maybe Arbiter will actually be cool. They should have gotten
That scene was so
I
dumb.
think is it Keith David that plays the original voice of Arbiter?
Sure.
It's really funny. He's actually in the last season of Community. Let me check real quick. It's Keith David.
That's cool.
I'm pretty sure he played Arbiter. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm mostly sure that's who it was. And I wish Arbiter's an animated character anyway. They should have just gotten Keith David to do the voice, if that's him. Now I don't think we've gotten actual confirmation that it is Arbiter, but as of right now, that's kind of my assumption. But yeah, man, it's pretty dumb. And then
Yeah, he did play Arbiter.
they
That's cool.
are looking for more of these things, and that's the end of the
The
episode.
MacGuffin's back.
Yeah, I'm just
So.
yeah, not really
All right,
impressed.
give me a rating for the first episode, and then give me a rating for the second episode. I'm thinking it's around a 3 for both episodes.
I might go 4 for the first one and 3 for the second one.
Okay.
Because it makes sense. It's just done really badly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I see what they're doing. There are a lot of things that I don't know, man. That's just kind of my initial thought on it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not good. It's definitely
It's
all
not
below
good.
average. But the thing is it's like better than Echo. Like that puts Echo across the board at like a 2.
When you watch Echo and then this show,
It makes this
it's
look
night
good.
and day difference.
It
does.
makes Echo makes Halo season 2 look good so far. To be fair,
Yeah.
It makes a lot of dude. This at least plot wise is structured better than what they did with Wheel of Time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's a good point.
It. Yeah, it at least like it's more of how dumb a lot of like there's a lot of like stupidity going on and characters that are dumb, and it's all that sort of like typical stuff that we talk about, but it's not on the same level of bad as some other things where it there's less like weird problems with like scenes that feel like they're cut out and really bad CGI. Like it's not good in this, but it's sort of like television bad. Like in a better show, you'd probably be okay with some of the shortcuts and like shortcomings of the CG in it.
Yeah.
I would have to think about it more because it's still kind of fresh for me. And obviously I want to see more of the season because
See how it plays out.
I want to see how it plays out because a lot of it could, looking back on it, you're like, golly, it's one of two things. You could look back on episode 1 and be like, no, it's probably still solidly a 4 because the rest of the season gets even worse. And so you're like, on that like grading scale or whatever.
Yeah.
The average curve is given that a solid 4, but I don't know, man. It's like I said, like once you start getting into that like 1 through 4 range, you've already lost. You can't even manage to be sort of like average in what you're trying to do. It's not very good. A lot of the stuff that just doesn't look great.
I agree.
Even for because this is supposed to be like.
Unfortunately, I was hoping it was gonna change everything, and I was hoping it was gonna be a good show. That was my hope. I was
they were
hoping
gonna
that
turn
this
things
time
around.
things were
Sorry,
gonna be turned
man.
around.
Nope.
I mean, I didn't have high hopes. Like I knew
Right.
better than that. But that's still my hope is always. I hope it's a great show. I never want something to be bad.
No, because I
Unless you're,
hate watching bad television. I
yeah,
hate watching
we
bad
do.
television.
But
I get no
but
pleasure from it, really.
you know,
Unless it's campy, like I said, if Matt, like Baby Chief,
insane
and
parody.
yeah, like him wearing a helmet in every scene, like that sort of stuff would at least be semi entertaining to watch.
And funny.
Even though it's still bad, it's at least distracting, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything else to say, man.
Me either.
We're gonna talk about next week's episode, but probably let it be a piece of the show instead of a whole thing, because I don't know if I can do it for like this for 8 episodes or whatever it's supposed to be this season. Them already being or like heading towards Reach by episode 3 makes me is it still 8 episodes?
Yeah, still 8 episodes.
So are they gonna just do Fall of Reach and be done with it? Like, I'm so
I guess.
I don't understand how they're gonna do this for 6 more episodes.
I agree.
Like what
man.
they've got planned. Anyway,
I agree. It may have to just be a. I think my plan is. I know we're gonna see Madam Web, and
yeah, we
so
do.
I guess it will have to be
gosh.
potentially.
Can-
But then
can
we get.
please, we have to do something that's gonna be interesting at the very
Well,
least.
I was
soon.
gonna say that's next week, and then we get our Avatar next week as well, and we
Mhm.
get Shogun at the end of February, like the 27th or 28th. So
Shogun,
we'll have some
I'm,
good content.
yeah, Shogun. I'm at least looking forward to.
Me too.
And Dune, and then Avatar. I'm still curious about, even though there's some stuff that's come out that's been. I'm hoping with Avatar, it's the House of the Dragon scenario where it's just the actor saying stupid things, and the show turns out
Yeah.
to still be all right.
So I think we'll have
Or
some good
showrunners,
content in there
depending on.
here soon, and Halo will only be a piece of our episode instead of the whole episode.
Right, and we'll have to kind of. I'm fine talking about it for sure. I just.
We need to format it to where it's tighter for each because we can't spend.
And I have a feeling that people just aren't going to be watching this. This is going to be. I think this gives me the feeling of season 2 of
Wheel of
Time, where it's like not from like a content standpoint necessarily, but like on our end where it's just like nobody cares.
Yeah.
There's like a very minor group of people that are gonna pay attention to what's going on in this show, including us. And it's just going to keep falling off because, like, I don't think anybody cares about season 2 of Halo.
No,
So
I don't think so either.
All right. Well, unless you have anything else you want to add, we're going to close it out.
No, I'm good, man.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of The Underground. We'll be back next week with a review of Madam Web and discussing episode 3 of Halo. And until then, y'all take it easy.
See ya.